welcome to season 19 of the Productized Podcast. I'm André Marquet. I'll be your host for today's episode. And in this season, we're all about creating change together with Productized Conference. Productized 2025 motto, where we explore how product leaders, innovators, and change makers can drive real lasting impact across teams, industries, and communities. I'm excited to have Pedro Ganço with us today. He's a friend. He's also a co-host of the same podcast. Pedro defines himself as a father, product manager, an entrepreneur, and a consultant, and one of our newest podcast hosts. After 10 years in the workforce, Pedro took a rather brave movement, a sabbatical, to focus on self-development and entrepreneurship. He believes creating change is about empowering teams and building solutions together. Pedro, welcome. How does it feel to be on the other side of the mic today?
Hi, Andrea. Thanks for having me. It's actually a bit strange being hosting the podcast and now on this side, but I'm super excited for this conversation. It will be super interesting because in this 19th season, we are actually shifting gears more towards conversation and narratives. So I really hope we have a good conversation and valuable to the listeners.
I hope so. And just to add to that, before we dive in, let's warm up a little bit with a quick, one of our quick games, icebreakers, call it what you want. So, first question to you: what's one change you've made that had a big impact in your life?
Recently, it has been for sure taking a sabbatical. It has been the most drastic change I made in the past year. It's totally shift gears.
Right.
Imagine yourself listening at home. If you remove work, what does it stay? Like everyone introduces themselves. I'm a painter. I'm a professor. I'm a product manager. Then you remove work. What does it stay? So it has been the most drastic change recently.
Yeah. And whether it's in this journey or not, name one product that you cannot live without.
One product I cannot live without. I do communicate a lot via social media, not so much WhatsApp, but Signal. That's a way for me to connect with my closest groups. I tried to move them away from Meta. It was really hard, but I did manage to move two important groups of mine to Signal, and I think I use it every
What kind
other day.
of groups are this? Like close friends
Close
groups?
friends groups. I moved two of them to Signal, but it's very hard to move away from WhatsApp.
And how did you convince them to do this?
By force, of course. No, I actually created the group and said, I'm going dark on WhatsApp for a while. If you want, guys, let's try to switch to Signal. And actually, two of these groups onboarded on the idea.
Yeah. What were you afraid of, staying on WhatsApp and Meta?
The amount of data they have on me and the ecosystem, because I also use Instagram, not so much Facebook, but being WhatsApp, which is very sensitive information that I share on a daily basis, I was not really comfortable doing every day on WhatsApp. I still use WhatsApp. Most of my friends are still in WhatsApp, but I like the idea of having a different alternative.
Right. And what's the last uncomfortable change you had to embrace?
The last comfortable change,
Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable change that I had to make, opening up a company and starting working as a contractor instead of an employee. It was also a very uncomfortable thing because I was used to my paycheck. And then now I need to get used to paying accountants, getting a lower salary, understanding all about cash flows. And it was
And
uncomfortable.
you opened the company here in Portugal,
Yes, I did.
like a limited company.
Yeah.
Okay. And why was that uncomfortable? Was it the switch of going from paycheck? What was it uncomfortable about it?
Managing my own expenses. I was always very conscious of personal finance and how to manage my money.
Right.
Like I did this pay yourself first. The moment salary arrives, I start applying it in investments to savings. And then when I open the company, mindset shifts a lot. It's like you have now a much lower wage. And I need to think about not only you as an individual, can I afford my own expenses? And can I also make my company survive and thrive and be up to the responsibilities of taxes? And so it adds up on complexity. It was uncomfortable. I don't think it was ROI probably better, which is what was probably my initial thought, but still very, very good in terms of learning and mindset.
All right. So if you could instantly master a new skill, what would it be?
God, I'd love to code. I think that's something because I'm very close to it, because I took a master in electrotechnical engineering, so I know the rules of the algorithms and such, but I've never been a professional coder. So I feel that if I spend the initial years of my career as a developer, or if I'd rather took a course on informatics, I think I could do even more things because I have this builder mindset, and sometimes I feel that I'm lacking the skills to do more things on my own.
Isn't that a little bit against the current vibe coding trend that is going
It
on?
is. That's why probably I'm not as much happy as I used to be. But it was a skill that I know if I had more benefited from it in the past. But I'm not so worried now because I know the trend of AI and no code and low code is going to continue growing. And in a few years, it will no longer be a problem for builders.
So what's a product you think is doing change right? Like it's actually changing the world for the better, like vision wise.
Let me go controversial here.
I know what you're going to say.
Do you?
No, let's see.
Actually,
I think
let's
so.
see. Let's see. I immediately thought about Twitter as a product.
Okay. I was close. But
Enabling
not that close.
different different ways to communicate because I've been I've been in Twitter for a long time, but the past 1 year since Elon Musk took over, I really saw different narratives playing out in that platform, and I consume a lot of content from many different places. And that particular place is really different than most of other places that tend to have the same kind of narrative. I think that's good. Multiple opinions, multiple narratives, multiple ways to see the world. I think that overall might be good for humanity, having a different opinions, having different ways to communicate.
Okay, that's definitely.
What was on your mind that
I
you
was. It was
thought I was
close.
good?
I was going to say another Elon Musk company, not Twitter or X, which I guess it's a little bit more obvious if you think like climate change or that, which would be Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah, but I get your point with X, which is more, it's important that all voices are there without the filters.
Actually, I don't think Tesla to be that as important on changing the world. I think they are going just to make it quicker, the transition towards electric. I think they really put the focus on electric on the agenda. They pushed the competitors, BYD and all others, to grow faster because they were getting all the market share. So I think Tesla in the end just expedited, just make it more quicker. And I think it was kind of inevitable.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of innovation, right? It's, in many ways, innovation is a little bit like high level sports. What happens? So what happens if you remove the fastest guy on the track? All other guys start running slower. Everyone else.
That's
No,
actually right.
it does.
That's actually
This
right.
is do it yourself. Go for the training. Go for the pool training. That's what I do. I go for pool training, and there's several swimming lanes, right, and several levels of difficulty according to how fast you are. And every time I of course, sometimes I'm tired. I just want to go the extra effort, and I stay like in the middle towards the slowest lane. And these are people that are fairly fast. And whenever I go to the fast lane, what happens? I just go faster. I just go faster because everyone else moves faster. Everyone else swims. It's pushing, right?
The fun thing about sports is that there's this limit world record.
Yeah.
And once someone surpasses that record, it's very easy that in the upcoming 1 or 2 years, multiple people break the record.
Exactly.
So once someone breaks what is the limit, it's much easier for other people to start believing, yeah, it's actually possible, it's actually human feasible, and more people start achieving the world record, which is crazy if you think about it.
Just to your point, the whole Tesla discussion was that if you have a leading company and that company keeps pushing, this company will effectively make everyone else run faster, right? And
For sure.
and of course, I think that was the role of Tesla for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Arguably, I don't know, now with the Chinese, and because it seems that some of these Chinese companies are innovating really, really, really fast in the electrical car market. To my own surprise, I was rereading a report that was drafted back in 2004 by a think tank in the United States about how electrical mobility was going to change and transform. So this was written 20 years ago. And as I was reading the report, I mean, it's a huge report, it's hundreds of pages long, and so I was actually skimming it. Part of what was written there surprised me because, I mean, lots of things are very, very prescient, but one said exactly what is going on. So at the section, they basically said, Chinese cars are going to take the industry. China's electrical cars
20 years ago.
Over 20 years ago. Chinese cars are going to take the industry. Chinese cars are, probably it sounded like a joke 20 years ago when people read that.
Yeah, totally.
But they totally right. They've written there, and they said has this technology shifts towards electrical cars, Chinese will basically take the market. And this was written in a public report that is out there for over 20 years for anyone that wants to read it, which I'll put on the notes for anyone that wants to dig into this archaeological files. But to my surprise, the report is still it's super well done, a super first principles approach. I mean, it's a very, very interesting report. So, coffee or tea when working on big challenges? And I also think I know your answer here.
Coffee, of course, it's always coffee.
No,
sometimes it's actually
mushroom coffee.
Sometimes it's even more caffeine, Monster style. But usually is coffee.
Okay, so Monster. Now you know. If you want to sponsor product people,
yeah, please do so.
Do so at the Productized Podcast. All right, so awesome. Now that you're all warmed up and ready to go, let's dive into the real heart of today's conversation.
I would say
inspired, educational,
overwhelming, very practical,
challenging,
thought-provoking,
meaningful,
enthusiastic,
nice people,
innovation,
and fun.
Product growth mindset.
New connections.
Join us at the coolest product management environment this October in Lisbon.
We've been talking a lot about changing, innovation, but now let's really unpack it. How do we create meaningful change, not just in products, but also within teams, organizations, and even industries? What does it take to break old habits, embrace new ideas, and actually make things happen? And I think in that regards, Pedro has been able to really be at the forefront of, at least in my community of people and friends that I follow, because you've recently embarked on an incredible journey of self-development, stepping away from this traditional career path to explore purpose and entrepreneurship, but also hobbies that you have, biohacking, which I guess we're going to talk a little bit about this in this episode. Can you share what it was that led you to take this bold step into the sabbatical and how it's influenced the way you approach both your work and your life now? Because you were saying it feels like you have been undressed. Now what's left of me without my job, without my career? So Pedro, tell us a little bit.
That's one of the most fascinating questions I've been dwelling in the past 1 year. So I do remember when I was back in college, in university, I saw this TED Talk. It was a guy, designer, I forget the name. He actually came to Portugal to design the Porto Music House.
Yeah, and the new EDP logo that is not new anymore.
That's the one. He did an amazing TED Talk saying, what if instead of growing, studying, working, retiring, what if we could break the retiring part and every 5 to 10 years we take 1 year off? He realized that by doing so, he shut the design office. And during that year off, he exponentially grow his ideas, the clients that he had in the next year, due to the networking and the creativity that he developed during the 1 year off. It totally paid off for the next 5 to 10 years later. And I said, wow, I'm going to do this. One day when I'm going to work, I'm going to stop every other 5 or 10 years. I'm going to take 1 year off. But then, life happens. You start working, you have commitments, and then you go on the rabbit hole. You start climbing the corporate ladder. And I did 10 years of working recently, and I was not super happy where I was in the place I was working. And I was decided to shift the job I was doing. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to another one. And at the same time, I'm also very keen in personal finance. I love the topic of personal finance. And I have this huge KPI in my personal finance dashboard, which is called Autonomy. How many years can I live paying my current lifestyle? And that single box, it's like 10 years. I could be 10 years off and keep, if nothing changes in my life, I could pay regarding that I sell off all my assets. I could sustain myself for 10 years. I said, man, I'm not liking where I am. I did remember that I saw this TED talk and I said to myself one day I would do it. And then I said, if it's not now, it will never be. So I'm 35 years old now. And I said, okay, let's take a leap of faith and go into this sabbatical for 1 or 2 years up to decide. And here I am. And it has been the most fulfilling year in the recent years, apart from special spike moments like getting married, having a kid, opening up a company. There are spikes. Your life is made of spikes
How
of
old
change.
is your kid now?
He's 2 years and a half.
Just 2 years and a half. So that means that she has been lucky to have her daddy, I wouldn't say home, but at least with much more availability that most dads have at this
And
time of their
it's
life.
funny because when we're going home every day, I usually drive Joanna to the office and leave my kid at school. And then I say, where is Mama going? And she say, Mommy's going to work. Where is Alice going? Alice is going to school. And then I ask, where is Father going? Father is going home, which is funny. She really understands the concept of Mama going home, but sometimes with the father, she gets puzzled. Yeah, going home.
Yeah, how do you think that this role play model that you're now also giving your kid is going to change her personality? I mean, kids at this age, we might discount a lot, but the first 3 years of age is effectively when the brain grows like 90% of its final size, and I think then it keeps growing. Like the rest 10 or 15% grows until you're 16 or so, or maybe 15. And it's a very important moment in infancy, right? Infancy of humans. I was just reading this book the other day by Carl Sagan, Dragons of Eden, and humans have disproportionate infancy time in terms of species, right? Most species infancy is very fast. You have to have to be ready to rock and roll and go hunt and go fly and whatever it is. For humans, it takes quite a while. But so the importance of this upbringing is so important. And how do you think she will perceive reality with your role model that you're now,
Yeah, I do think we have a very special role in inspiring our kids in what is possible. And most of the limiting beliefs she will probably have will be fed and influenced by the parents. I don't believe me taking a sabbatical will take a huge influence on her in this particular moment. What I feel that she needs the most during these 3 years, like you said, is the most. She will never learn as fast as she's learning now. You try to learn Mandarin just by being surrounded with Chinese people for 3 years and learn the language just without any classes. That's the most, and she will never have this again. That's the most fastest learning period she will ever have in her life. But what I feel I need to give her at this stage, I think it's just love and feeling confident. That's at least what I have in my mind. I want her to be confident in herself. She needs to be self-aware that she's being loved. She has protection. The pyramid of she needs to be like safe. She needs to be safe, loved, so that she
Maslow.
can develop her own confidence, and everything will be carried out. Probably later in life, she'll get more inspired by parents if we are working from home or building our own businesses, and then she will look at us as role models. At the moment, I don't know. I think I never thought about it too much.
But it was a hard sell inside the family, right? You had to sell it to your wife as well. And she didn't like it so much from what I've heard in the beginning.
No. She actually supported me, but in the beginning it was like fear. Like, are you sure what you're doing? Because it's a it's actually a huge leap of faith. You start receiving as much money as I was receiving. What about our home? What about our commitments? What about the long term? Is this good for us? Is this good for you? You actually have very good opportunities ahead of you. Are you really going to ditch them away? So there's a lot of uncertainty that comes. This is not an easy call, and it was not an overnight decision. It actually, I think it probably from the moment I said I'm going to do this until I actually did it, it took me 4 months. I do remember, and I have really strict end of the year goals that I actually stick to, at least half of them, before they fade away. And I decided at the end of the year that I would be doing this throughout 2024. It took me until end of May to make the final call and leave the job. I was working full time, but I guess it was kind of for 4 to 5 months.
I remember the day you posted online, and I think it was on LinkedIn. You said that
I quit.
going to do this, right? I quit or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was wondering if I should share with the world or not about what I was doing, and I said why not? Because up until here, I'm kind of shy guy, not exposing myself too much. I'm a consumer in Instagram, not a producer. And when I started doing this sabbatical, I started also exploring my own voice, like trying to let me speak up. People will not agree with me 100% of the times. Some people may like it, some people may not. Look at this guy. Who is he just sharing these things? And I started putting myself out there to fight my own fears of exposure. So I was actually surprised and happy to see how much reaction it caused in LinkedIn when I said I quit doing this. This is my reasons. I'm going off for 1 or 2 years, let's see. And suddenly I had a burst of messages and people saying, wow, amazing. I also want to do this. How could you? And I started my first month in a sabbatical. I think it was just networking. I was having coffees with other people, strangers, friends, people that messaged me on LinkedIn and said, okay, do you want to hop on a call and we can talk for 20 minutes? So I get to meet a ton of interesting people. And I immediately realized this was a good decision.
Yeah, but I think the Swedish have an expression, which is when people talk to you and you don't feel like talking, which for Swedes, it's like basically every time you're basically draining their energy out. So you were having all these conversations, but this was to fulfill these people's own sense of insecurity that they want to do, but very few people actually do it, right? It's like, yeah, I want to do in this world, take 1 year off to travel the world, and this is my dream, and I want to go to Japan, I want to go to these places, but nobody does it, right? So was it a little bit of voyeurism from these people? Okay, I want to see what does it look like to be on a sabbatical, being a successful product manager, 35-year-old with a family and all that. Was it more voyeurism, or was it actually meaningful networking that was worthwhile to you?
It was worthwhile to me for the connection part, getting to meet and bond with different people. It was not, I think it was also a bit of inspiring because like you were saying in sports, when you see someone doing it, you start questioning, why can't I?
Right.
And
You're breaking the
this
ceiling, right? You're
this
showing.
generates some kind of loop processes in your brain that you start thinking, do I want it? Maybe I don't want it. Maybe I'm just unhappy where I am. Maybe I should start changing my job. I think there are some snippets of inspiration that propagate, even if they
Have you
don't
been
tell
able
me.
to inspire anyone specifically to start doing it?
There was one person in particular that I remember that she really messaged me a lot of times and said, hey, really amazing. And then she started questioning, and she's taking a side job that she actually was postponing for a while. And I think I actually made the transition going, something that was in her mind for a while. And after talking with me, I think I expedited same way as Tesla. Just make it quicker. Probably it will happen anyways, but probably just to encourage some people to take action quicker.
So
Probably.
at least one person has been touched by your message and started the sabbatical.
No, not sabbatical. Starting a different job to get more money to then start singing.
But to
start
your
the
best
sabbatical?
knowledge, to start the sabbatical, no one.
No, not
Don't
that
you
I know.
find that rather strange? I mean, did you ever consider I mean, you have been fairly open about your sabbatical, but you have not. I mean, you're doing this podcast, of course, but you have not started the blog about, sabbatical day 300, which is, by the way, you should be right now at sabbatical day 300 if my math is not
Roughly, yeah.
right?
300.
Right. So you're not doing this building in public, or in this case, sabbatical in public, in a very structured way. So people can follow what does the day in the life of Pedro Ganço feels like doing a sabbatical. To keep inspiring, like creating the movements. And I guess maybe because this was not in your radar, or maybe this was simply not in your what you wanted to do. But a lot of the people that outreach you and still do is because of the sabbatical things, because they want to know, how can I do it, right?
Yes, but I was never structured in sharing it, because at the same time, I didn't know if that was what I wanted to do, to be honest. When I took a sabbatical, it was I want a year off to understand if you remove work, you only have like 3 chunks of 8 hours. 8 hours is for self-hygiene, just sleep. 8 hours to work. 8 hours in between. Commute, lunch, dinner, chores. If you look at it, your life, you actually have like 2 to 4 hours of creativity per day. Like, what do I want to do with the day? You have roughly 2 hours. Most people will spend them on scrolling some social media, reading a book, watching a series, going for a run, going for gym, going for dance classes. And this is what you get. I wanted to find out what would happen if I could expand this to, I don't know, 12 hours a day of creativity. And I didn't know if I wanted to just okay, now I'm a sabbatical guy and I want to inspire people to do the same.
And okay, so let's dive into the whole creativity aspect of it, because that's what you want to maximize, or that's something you've tried to maximize in your sabbatical journey. What have you done? So I know that you've started Krav Maga, but then you gave up on it, right? So you're exploring lots of things. What has stuck? What has not stuck? And what do you think will stuck?
There was something that I knew I wanted to do. It was creating a product of my own. I have this entrepreneurial vein in me, and I wanted to explore it and do it. Last year in February, I opened up a company with a friend of mine. So I have a travel agency for the luxury market of Americans in coming to Portugal, visiting Portugal. So I had this company. At the same time, I also want to, I'm a product manager. This is my professional capital, something that I have that I know of. I'm going to start a course on product management. Then I also wanted to work on my body and myself, on my health. Krav Maga, gym. Then I'm also a product guy. I want to network. Actually connected again. We've met already each other for 7 years already, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But we started connecting more because of the sabbatical, and said, hey, maybe I can help on. And actually, I felt that you had a huge impact on my life in early career as product manager. You invited me to the product conference. I wanted to also give back. So I actually bought the ticket for Productized conference and product weekend, which was super good for the networking again, helped a bit on it. Then a ton of networking. So this was my life. And I also spent not as much time as I thought with my kids. I think we made it more relaxed in the mornings and in the end of the day. Like, we don't need to rush for school because I don't need to be at 9 a.m. in front of the desk. So it removed the stress.
Of having, come on, let's go.
It was really good in health things, I think. But as you can see, I have a ton of things going around.
Okay, so 2 questions to you. Regarding the entrepreneurial journey, don't you think that's a little bit faking the sabbatical? Because the moment people could, well, it doesn't matter what people say, but you could say that, well, it's a sabbatical, but the moment you're creating a company, it's not a sabbatical anymore. It's more of an entrepreneurial journey. You're just taking a sabbatical from your old job, which is, well, okay, now you're becoming an entrepreneur. So I could also argue that I've been doing a sabbatical for the past 15 years or so, more or less, because I've been a consultant, I have my own company and so on and so forth. But, I don't have like, I'm not a slave to the corporate world. So, well,
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I don't know.
There was a moment that I actually thought the same. I think the really difference is that I don't have an agenda. The moment I wake up, My calendar is actually more or less pretty full.
Okay, so
For a
let's
sabbatical?
let's do your one day in the life of Pedro. What time are you waking up right
I
now?
always wake up at 7, and it's not up to me to decide. Alice gets to decide the
The wake up
time we
hours.
wake up.
Okay,
The wake up
so you
hours.
wake up at 7, and what do you do? What's your wake up routine? Do you go for sports? Do you go for run? Do you do
No,
anything?
no. From 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. is family time, meaning we wake up, we play a little bit with Alice, we take care of breakfast.
From 7 to 10 a.m.
7 to 10, yeah.
Okay, so what time does she have to be at school?
9 is the hour they enter. Usually I take her to school at 9:30, and then I get back home. And when I'm ready to start kicking the day is at around 10.
Okay, so you're taking like 3 hours in the morning just to prepare the breakfast and play with your kids, take her to the kindergarten, then come back home. So
It's
around
exactly what I did before, probably with 1 hour more of slack and relax.
right,
Easy
because
going.
back then at
I had
8
to deliver
at
at
9 you
school
had
at
to
half
be at the
past
desk.
8,
Right,
so that I'm in front of desk working at 9. Now I can deliver
and
1 hour
you're the
later.
one delivering the kid to school, which in Portugal is quite normal because parents are, it's not like, oh, it's not the mom, it's the parent, it's the dad. It's totally normal. People don't even find that
And
strange because it's
we
quite
also have
common.
some days that is only Joanna taking care of that. So
Okay.
we also still balance it.
So
the
in
two
the
of us.
morning, I guess that's still a little bit pretty chill. And then what happens next?
So next, whatever is up to all of my weekends are different. I'm
Not
actually
weekends,
opening.
weekdays, right?
Yeah, actually weekdays. All my weekdays are different. For instance, an example yesterday. Never
Well,
happened before. It
yeah,
was random. I
right,
helped you on a Productized Talk
right,
conference that
exactly.
happened. It was really different day from
So
the.
what time are you having lunch when you're home?
Sometimes I skip lunch. Sometimes I have
Are
lunch
you
at
on
2.
a fasting regime or?
I wouldn't say I'm on a regime, but most of days I do fasting, extend the amount of hours I'm not eating, and I live comfortably without eating. Sometimes I have lunch at 3 p.m.
Okay. And when do you go? When do you go to the gym? What time of the
I
day?
usually go on Monday, end of the day,
Okay,
and
like what, 7 p.m.
sometimes
after you go catch your
yes,
kid from school?
yeah,
So just
and
before dinner.
yeah, and sometimes Friday morning. Today I skipped to be more focused on this podcast, but usually go Friday morning.
You shouldn't, man. Never skip.
Never
That's
skip
rule
a
number
day.
1. Never skip, right?
But I went yesterday. I skipped it, and
Okay.
I went
So
yesterday.
7 p.m. you go to the gym. Does it work to you for you to do at the end of the day? Do you feel more energized? Do you feel more?
I like it at the end of the day better
Yeah,
than
to be
in the
honest,
morning.
me too. Me too. I think, every time is good. I think you should do it, right? The biorhythm of different people is just different. For me, swimming, so I've started maybe a couple of months doing swimming in the 50-meter pool with another group. So I'm swimming on during the week with this group closer to the office, and then at the end of the day, I started doing this 50-meter pool drills at this.
You're crazy. Then
No,
you go to the sea, open sea.
yeah, but no, swimming in the pool is not crazy, right? But for some reason, and I thought, oh fuck, this is 8 o'clock in the evening, 8:30 in the evening. It's so late. But to my surprise, I feel super good at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't feel so. If it's intellectual work, I'm already done, right? If people ask me, oh, go do the report, go do the presentation, end of the day, I'm draining. I'm totally drained. But if it's like go swim, go do exercise, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. I don't feel like it's actually the opposite. I even feel more energized. The downturn is that you do it at the end of the day, then you feel energized, then you go home, and then it takes a while for you
Way
to
to
slow
relax
down
and
again,
yeah. It happens.
right? And just end up sleeping a little bit later. Okay, so 7 a.m., 7 p.m., you're on the gym again. Then are you having dinner with the family, I guess?
Yes,
And then
that's on a daily basis.
I
Yes.
know that you are a little bit of a night owl, right? You end up working after
Yeah, it
dinner.
kind of changed the moment Alice was born,
Mm.
but I have bursts of focus from midnight, 11 p.m. towards 3 a.m. or something. I love working in the night.
Mm.
I'm really a night owl. But now, I don't know, 35 years old, starting to kick in. And since you don't get to bargain on the wake up hours,
Yeah, I don't.
you still wake up at 7, 8 a.m. So it's hard that uh, I'm trying now to adjust to push this to more daylight.
So, do you have like any routine on learning or courses or anything that you want to educate
I
yourself
manage
on?
routine. I do listen, I don't know, 2 to 4 hours a day to podcasts, to YouTube channels, to people that I love and admire. So it's on a daily basis that I listen to
Usually
podcasts.
after dinner.
No, usually on commute. If I'm alone having lunch, I'm on with my AirPods listening to something. Just before this call, I was rewatching a podcast that I loved listening to.
Which one?
It was the latest interview from Daniel Priestley and Gary Economics. They were both fighting about tax the rich or free economic models, and I loved
So,
these.
Daniel Priestley is one of your gurus, if I'm right.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Why?
The
Why?
past few years, he wrote a bunch of books on key person of influence, on entrepreneur revolution, and he laid out a structure that for me made total sense. And I said, this is it. He identified the changing landscape of the fabrics of society. I explained this. Like, he identified some trends. Like we were factory workers once, everyone worked in a factory. Or before that, everyone working in the fields, then factories. Then we are all blue collar people working in the internet service based companies. And he says that the next trend happening is going towards more solopreneurs, personal brand. This is the impact usually occurs due to shifts in technological disruptions. You have industrial revolution happening in UK. Everyone's building factories and machines. So now everyone is leaving the field to work on a factory. My father still worked on the car factory at Renault cars manufacturer. Everyone's working on factory. In around the 80s, you have internet, and from the 80s to the 2000s, everyone is transitioning to this service-based economy. Everyone is working in a laptop, in the internet, now with COVID expediting to remote works. And then what happened 10 or 20 years ago, it was the appearance of Snapchat, Instagram, all these social networks boom, which empowered individuals to have a mind, to have a chance to speak up to the world. So one individual now with a TikTok account can be worth millions more than many, many, many companies trying to survive in the workforce. So this really empowers people to become solopreneurs. And what I see around me is a ton of people that is doing the same as me, opening up their own companies, selling their own services. Oh, I'm a videographer. I have this thing. I do gigs on the side. Oh, I'm a consultant. I open my own company. Oh, I'm a copywriter. I'm a marketing digital assistant. I see a ton of people around me opening companies and becoming their own solopreneurs. Then they need to learn digital marketing. And I love the way it's structured this. And I said, yes, this is actually, he's seeing ahead. He's a guy that sees ahead of time, Daniel Priestley.
Okay,
And
so
you need to catch the
let's
wave.
maybe just divide this Daniel Priestley's theory into like different blocks. So one of the blocks, if I understand right, is the whole, let's say, socio-economical transformation of society, which is, so it was going through all these revolutions, and now where are we now?
We are in the phase of solopreneurs.
Solopreneurs.
To the impact of social media and the globalization that now you can work in Portugal and sell to US. You don't have no longer these barriers. Now you'll be seeing the rise of solopreneurs.
Yeah, you don't need a corporation, right? I think someone that, at least to my knowledge, here in Portugal in the product space has been able to do that super successfully has been André Albuquerque. You know, a few years ago, so André Albuquerque being the professor of product management, also product manager himself, you know, a few years ago, success would look something like, okay, I'm a tenured professor of product management. I'm working on a master's for this university, and I have a bunch of executive courses that I'm giving, and that's it. But he thought, well, my brand is my name, and what I do. So I'm going to create like this course, and I'm going to start giving the courses myself, because the brand is not the university anymore. The brand is the professor, right?
Yep.
And a few years ago, and of course, I think you cannot scale this to everything. I mean, if you're still doing an engineering degree, you're not going to skip MIT or Institutes for Technical or whatever it is. But if you're doing specific trainings, what you want to do is more than the brand of the university. You want the brand of the person, the person of influence, a little bit like Daniel Priestley talks
And
about.
if you want
Right?
to remove the cap, you have to imagine you are a nutritionist.
Mhm.
You will be working for some clinic or something.
Right.
You cannot extend your paycheck. You can get
Right.
slow improvements in your salary,
Mhm.
but you'll not be massively more productive
Mhm.
unless you
Mhm.
start working twice as much instead of 8
Right.
hours, 16 hours. Doesn't make sense. Then you open your own clinic. You still have the same struggles with hiring people. The way you can scale your productivity is
Productize
actually it's
yourself.
productize. You need to productize yourself. I'm a product, I'm a brand. So I need to speak up about nutrition. I need to sell mini courses. I need to, instead of doing nutrition 1-to-1, maybe webinars 1-to-10. Then I can charge 10 times for the same amount of hours. So you need to decouple your means of payment to a more scalable approach. You cannot simply continue changing time for money, because you have so much time in your life. You can work twice as much, or you can charge more per rate. You can charge more per hour, but even there's a limit. The highest paid engineering in San Francisco, I don't know, 500K a year, 1 million at most, something. You cannot go further. There's limits to your productivity when you change time for money. But when you open a company, when you have products, you have services that you can scale, this is the beauty, empowered by social media, empowered by internet. AI will be the next disruption that will impact workforce in 20 years, if not sooner. And people need to understand the world, because it's like everyone is running, but some people take a bike, some people take a motorbike, and everyone's running on the same lane. But some people understand, oh, if I actually go on a bike, I can go faster. The lane is the same. Instead of, I can still run and complain about the other guys, how unfair the world is. By the way, no one told the world is fair. It's just a matter of being pragmatic and saying these trends up front and adjusting. That's why I really liked starting consuming content on Daniel, because he's very pragmatic. Like, he's not judging if this is fair. He's not judging if this is right. He's judging where the world is going. Look at trends.
Yeah, I mean that of course would take us into a very deep philosophical
Yeah.
discussion. But just trying to be pragmatical about the whole Daniel Priestley preach on. One of the things that I think a lot about was what you're saying was, okay, well, you are a dentist or you are a nutritionist. If your brand as a professional is worthwhile more than you being paid, you are being underpaid, right? You are being paid below market. And if you are being paid below market, the trend is everyone will start creating their own brands, their own personal brands, their own Instagram accounts, and so on and so forth. But you would expect this to be happening at the massive scale, and still it's not, because people for some reason prefer the comfort of the paycheck. They prefer the comfort of having a 9 to 5. They prefer the comfort of not having to worry about producing content and videos and digital marketing content and so on. So 90% of people still are not like that, or they were not educated to be like that. It's not even 90%, like 99%, right? And of course, I mean, why do you think this is still like that? I mean, why
There
do
are
you
two
think,
things here in
right?
play.
Because effectively, we are surrounded
Mhm.
by people that do not see it that way.
And you need to also talk about demographics and exponentiality. 99% of the people don't do it, and then suddenly everyone does it. It's like, who today doesn't work in the internet? Maybe some baby boomers, maybe some still traditional jobs that still persist and don't need internet to survive, like small cafes that rely on local commerce. They will not scale, but it is what it is. They are like effectively means of payment of a normal salary, although through a business. But what happened is that no one worked in the internet when I was born. Now everyone works in the internet. Internet was started creating, I don't know, in the 60s, 70s, something like that, but actually impacted the workforce drastically, and drastically changed from the 90 to the 2000 something. In 10 years' time, like 90% of the population was not working internet, to suddenly more
Everyone
than
is working
60%
on the
or
internet.
70% is working on internet. I feel it could happen the same, and demographics has a huge play to it because baby boomers are now going out of the workforce, and they are the more laggard adoption of these new technologies. But the new generation, the X generation, they were born playing TikToks. They are more comfortable than you and I dancing to the camera. They are exposed to these from day one. They will accept easily. And if you see the number of podcasts, exponential growth. The number of Instagram accounts still growing. The number of small businesses, the trend for companies that reach 1 million revenue, having less and less founders or less lower team sizes. Now, with the lower companies, you can get to reach something that was unbelievable 20 years ago. So there's demographics and exponentiality to it. I'm still not sure that most people will not adapt. I feel that there will be a time where, at the moment, I'm more comfortable in subcontracting. Like, yeah, I don't want to hire someone to my company. I want to hire someone that has the skill. I can contract. We exchange services. You pay a fair cut. When no longer needed, everyone go to their own business. So instead of hiring people, and I feel the mindset will start changing towards this, like exchanging skills, even more when you put AI into play. You just need the job done. You don't need the people on the desk.
Yeah, contractor space economy.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, I also see it that way. Okay, so let's maybe change gears a little bit and ask you a little bit about creating change together. Still requires the right team around the same problem. What do you think is the key to fostering that kind of collaboration, especially in environments where teams might resist change? And I know we've had a corporate life before you. I'm specifically thinking of specific companies where you worked, where a lot of the generic complaint was that there was no alignment from the top. And because of that, of course, there was some resistance towards creating this change. So, what do you have to say about it?
Okay, I think I worked around in 8 companies or so. I struggled in bigger companies. I was not able to change as much as I wanted when I went to bigger companies, especially after being in a startup environment where change was by default, change was happening on a weekly basis. Change was around us and it was okay, and people embraced change. Every other week we tried new things, and that was very good for morale, for team building. When I changed to more big corporate with more regulations, more strict clients, I kind of struggled doing product management in very big companies. I could not adjust so easily to the pace, although I recognize for people that have like the proper mindset, they could actually achieve great things because now they have a massive capital behind them and massive authority due to the brand. I recognize that some conservative slow change sometimes have very big impact in society. There are some companies I worked with that I did not fit in, but they had products that actually changed the Portuguese landscape and they were very good. But yeah, to build together, I feel that we really need to have autonomy. And this is what we all preach in everything I hear on product management, let people have autonomy. And some people's manage to do it. Some companies like Spotify and Google have like little scopes that, okay, you're free to break things inside your scope, still have a sense of autonomy and ownership of the product. That is crucial to me to be able to build together. When I like that, I didn't feel as much into it.
And one of the things that you shared with us on a meeting actually was that you felt the teams were empowered, or you were trying to also empower some of the teams that you worked with the question, what do you think? Can you expand on how this mindset shift has changed your approach to leadership and decision making within your teams?
Yeah, I think that was I think that actually improved me a lot as a professional in product management. When I was in my early career, I had the sense that I needed to know. I need to know everything because I'm in charge and I have this role, and I need to get my shit together and know what we are going to do. So I need to be very more authoritative, or saying we need to do this because this makes total sense and I want to be right and this is the solution, this is the problem. And I realized when I went to this other startup, it went out because I found engineers that were so clever. They challenged me every other day why do you want to do this? This doesn't make sense because of this and this and that. And actually, then I need to be a bit humble and say, actually, he's right. And then give back, what do you think we should do? And they're like, oh, wait a minute. This is the product manager asking me what we need. I don't know. I'm just complaining to you. This doesn't make sense. Okay. I'm also lost. What do you think we should do then? And
It's
then
so great
we're
when
starting
we
doing
get to
this.
work with smart people, right?
Yeah. Because you need this challenge. It pushes everyone up. I went to meetings where I actually like preparing a lot, like saying, do I really know if this is the right thing we want to do? Because I'll be challenged. I need to get my things together. So it was really good. But what do you think is an amazing tool? For me as a product manager, when I'm going to meetings, hey, we have this problem. What do you think we should do? And listening, but not just vain listening, like, yeah, tell me what you think. Okay, good. Let's do it my way then. No, it's actually, no, this is a valid proposition. Let's do it your way. It's against what I was thinking, but my guess is as good as yours. Let's try it. Next week we iterate. So the what do you think is an amazing tool for product managers to start using with their teams.
But
Because then
did
you share the ownership in the autonomy that I like to have. You share it, like everyone is autonomous to also come up with ideas to the problems.
and did you learn this technique with anyone specifically, or?
I don't know, because I was also immersed in all these productized conferences, reading books. But it was not conscious. I don't know if it is because of the surroundings I put myself into, or if it was naturally being humble and asking people what they feel.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, it's great to work with really smart people that challenge you in the right way. Maybe they have better ideas than you have. Maybe they have just more experience.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone comes to mind in your career that, of course, we spoke about me. Thank you so much. But I really want to hear someone from this corporate experience of yours that helped you progress, that inspired you towards change in your professional practice.
A lot of people. Immediately, there was this CEO during the time. I didn't really fancy him, nor most people in the company, because he was a disruptor. He was really a disruptor, the CEO of the company. And every other week, oh, I read something online and now we're going to do this way. Really like crazy push on the team. But I realized this constant challenge.
Yeah, back in my day, we called that the Executive Digest CEO.
It is exactly as you may picture it.
Executive Digest, because it was a big magazine back in the day, and it was being published on a weekly basis. And we knew that by Monday, when we get to the office, they would have read the magazine, so something new would come up, right? Whatever it was.
That's exactly on point, as you may say. Every Monday, the company is what's coming today, what's coming
Okay.
this week.
What's coming
But
this?
in the end, since it's not a voice that we can easily just disregard,
Exactly.
it made everyone think and challenge. And if you don't agree, you need to speak up your mind and justify. So I think it strengthened a lot my critical thinking towards not accepting everything, but at the same time, if you don't accept as well, challenge it back. There was also other engineers that inspired me a lot because they challenged me on this leadership thing, being okay in them coming up with the solutions. It was the shift that I had to make as a product manager. I'm not entitled to the solution. And then I only realized later that the way probably should be. So many people inspire me. Because the one thing that is good that I transition a lot of jobs is that you get to meet many different corporations, different sizes, different industries, different people. I would encourage people to not stay in the same place for
Too long?
very too long.
What if people are happy?
We don't need always to maximize for learning. You need to understand what you want to maximize for, but also at the same time understand risk. You may be happy, but for how long? Is this company going to stay around for the next 30 years or 40 years of your career?
Yeah.
Probably not. So, and what you're going to do afterwards? Are you kind of not unemployable because you've always made like the same steps from one place to the
No,
other?
I must be very honest with you. I've always moved on because I was not happy, or I was not feeling like I was happy, or I never moved from a company when I was like, okay, I'm good and I want to stay here,
for the
or
rest of my life.
no, of course not. Or I want to stay here because I'm comfortable. No, it's always I've always been bounded by something, or I was really upset by something, or I was really so yeah. But one of the things that I find it magical when it happens, and we were having this discussion the other day, and of course this again a very controversial topic, this situation in the Oval Room in the White House where JD Vance and Trump were basically bullying Zelensky.
Zelensky.
But what I felt was that JD and Trump were very much in the same wavelength, or at least they were showing publicly that they were. And from my experience with working with other people and having that's not so common, right? And not easy to fake. Even not easy to fake. And that's also a superpower. When I see these power duos working together and doing amazing things, sometimes, or maybe not doing amazing things because what they were doing was not amazing at all, in my opinion, but working together towards the same purpose. Whether that purpose is good or bad, I'm not even judging them.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful force of nature, such a powerful force of the universe that is so rare. When I see it, when I see, this founding teams where at least they have a couple of people, sometimes it's more, of
With the
course,
same
but
spirit or
same
fighting
spirit,
the same
the same hungriness of going and getting, and just it's so rare. When you see it, it's super inspiring.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful in many ways because it's rare. Like so many
Mm-hmm.
things in life that are rare, you value it for the fact that it's not so common, and you don't see it that often. It's like pure raw talent or something like that. But in this case, it's just this boundless chemistry of two people having the same appetite, having the same direction, and fighting for the same objective. And if that happens for a long time, of course, you have a very dynamic team. Okay, so look, before we wrap up, I think it's a good moment to reflect on this conversation. I think we've covered a lot of ground, very diverse topics as well. So let's just try to break it down into 3 key insights from today's episode. So what would you say are your top takeaways for the listeners today? And what would you share to be the 3 most important insights that we've probably gained from this discussion? Maybe starting with the sabbatical move, which is what we discussed first.
Yeah, I actually like the way we end this conversational mode, free flow. But if people are to have some takeaways from this conversation we had, probably I'll name a few. Most people listening to us are in the workforce, full-time, working for someone else. You don't need to quit your job.
You don't need to
don't need to quit your job. Probably you didn't even should or could. So
thank God you said
the-
that, because
That's
we've never been sued, and I really want to keep it that way.
Exactly. No, because this is action, something that needs to be self-driven. You actually need to want it. And people might be surprised. Be careful what you want for, because the moment you get it, sometimes it's not what you might expect. The moment you go on a sabbatical, it might be as amazing or wonderful as you may picture it.
What would you say people that are flirting to do a sabbatical, but they don't know if they should do it? Is there a way to test the waters without actually doing it?
Yeah, there is. First, they need to talk with me on LinkedIn. Just message me. Hey, I want to take a sabbatical. I can challenge you. I can challenge you on that.
Okay, but just give us a glimpse of what is the kind of challenge that you do.
It's really, really easy. These past few months, I've been doing also some mentoring, pro bono, that's mentoring for some people. And it's amazing. Some people say, hey, I want to invest. Hey, I want to do a sabbatical. And okay, do you know how much you spend on average? Yeah, I have a rough idea. Can we put it in an Excel I have? Yeah, let's go for it. The moment you start breaking down, you really need to have like because this is not only emotionally, let's go for a sabbatical. It needs to be also rational and logic. How much do you spend? But I also spend for car insurance, but it's only once a year. Okay, let's divide this per month. You need to understand how much you cost
but
on a monthly basis.
The tactical advice, which is, can you make it, right? Do you have the money?
But if you cannot make it today, how can you make a plan to make it work?
But you were also talking about, I guess that's what you were also talking about, not so much the technicality of whether you can make it or not because you have enough money, but whether this is for you.
If this is for you, you need to understand the reasons why you're making this move as well. If you are comfortable, because at the moment you will have a ton of time ahead of you. Like I started in the beginning. If you remove, one of the takeaways could be, if you remove your work, what does it stay? Who are you? Most people are, I'm a professor, I'm a product manager. Who are you? You need to understand your identity. What do you want to do with your life? Because you'll have free time. What do you want to use this time for? And in my case, what I started doing the sabbatical, it was something in the beginning. It starts shifting along the way. And then you need to adjust to it. At the moment, I'm dwelling this purpose thing. What is my purpose? If I didn't ever need to go back to work, what do I want to do? And I actually been leaning towards not teaching product management. I like product management, but maybe I don't want to teach product management. Maybe I want to
Right.
teach personal finance, which is something that I'm more emotionally attached to.
Yeah, I think the question is really what you want to be remembered for. Remembered in this life for,
Mm.
right? What you want people
So
to
talk
get
about
out
this
of.
question. If I die in 1 year from now, what do I want to tell my kids? If I had the chance to
No, it
record a
is an
video
important
or write
question.
a
I mean,
book,
I've just read the book, actually, the source code from Microsoft founder Bill Gates, which has been published maybe a month ago. And it's about the very first 25 of years of his journey in this planet. And Bill Gates for the last few years, I think, has been trying to change his, especially after he divorced. He has very actively tried to change how he is going to be remembered. Is he going
his
to be
personal brand,
remembered as the richest man in the planet, as the founder of Microsoft, as the founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as the founder of the, has the one of the guys in the list of, how is he going to be remembered? And I guess that's why he has been started writing these memoirs. By the way, the book is great. But at the end of the day, I think that's to your point, right? People, I mean, he is effectively one of the top 5 richest guys in the planet. He couldn't care less about what people think or do not think about him, but he does. He does care a lot. I mean, he's going through this huge effort to paint this persona or to at least sell out how he wants to be remembered. Yeah, and that's so important, right? We want to go through this journey, whether it's 90 or 17 or 100 years old, but we want, at least as we become older, to be remembered for something good, I guess.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
definition of good varies a
It's
lot from
like
person
Ray
to person.
Dalio says, the first time of period of your life, if you chunk it into 3 phases, first you are growing, developing. The second phase, you are contributing, you are working, you are putting something of you back to the society.
Right.
In the third phase, you are thinking more about contributing back, like what can I leave behind? Like these
If you're lucky.
memories.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
If you're lucky to have a financial journey that allows for that. And unfortunately, that's still not so common. But let's make it more common. We're counting on you, Pedro, to help more
actually
people.
a very tough problem to solve, but yeah, I'll try to do my best.
Look, it is tough, but you have been able to nail the formula, because otherwise, of course, you wouldn't be doing a sabbatical. And it doesn't seem that you're stopping the sabbatical because you're running out of money. You would be stopping it because, you've somehow ended that sabbatical journey. And I guess that at least the feedback I got from you, from some of this consultations that you have, is that most of the times when you do the consultations, it's not because people don't get enough money in the first place, because they're not investing, they're not saving, they're not having a strategic approach to their personal finance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's so important to have this strategic mindset. And the work that you're doing now at the very micro scale, because you're doing one-on-one consultations, might be so valuable if it scales up to more and many more people.
Yeah.
All right, so Pedro, that was take number 1 and 2, I guess. So
number
let's take
Come
number.
on, you don't need to take a sabbatical.
Right.
If you want to, you need to understand why you want to do it. The third takeaway, I would say, is understand the game we're playing. We are all on the same Monopoly board, but some people read the rules, some people don't. Some people just go around the board waiting for the check.
Right.
And then paying rent to everyone and complaining, and hopefully I can get another round around the board. We are all in a board, and I don't mean only economic. I mean the world. So the third takeaway would be understand trends. You can be someone working in the field, picking up potatoes, and you see factories coming, tractors, and you say, no, this is not fair, this is not good, it's going to replace us. I want to fight it. Okay. But then you'll be probably overtaken by something else. You'll be complaining because it's not fair. No one said this is fair. But if you understand the trend, let me learn how to drive these cars. Okay, then comes the internet. No, I don't want this. I want to face-to-face communications. I don't want to use Zoom. This is not
Right.
human. I'll fight it. Okay, up to you. But then you miss on these trends. Then now my generation and myself, it was very hard for me to be doing this 2 years ago, speaking to a camera, being public online. I'll be very, very afraid of doing this 2 years ago. Fight it. No, then I start saying, this is another wave. This is what my parents were complaining. Oh, everyone now is speaking in the internet instead of face to face. You should go play outside. You can fight these trends, or you can adapt and use it as you want. So, embracing social media, embracing AI, that is the next disruption technology that's coming around the corner. You can look at the world as trends and cycles. But if you don't adapt to it because you don't want to, you don't agree, we don't believe in this, you are shutting yourself from a ton of opportunities. Up to you. But if you look back, it's easier to recognize, oh, I don't want to use fire. Fire may kill people. And there we are. Oh, I don't want to use electricity. Actually, people complained when the electricity appeared.
Yeah.
It was a disruption, technology disruption in the society. And most people were against the electricity because they killed someone. The next
Still
revolution
are.
will
The thing about it, people
still
say
are.
EV cars. That's such a stupid thing.
And airplanes. And the next thing will be self-driving cars. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. Then it will be self-driving cars with AI making decisions on how to drive. And sometimes they'll make bad decisions and kill someone. And people will fight these technologies. And probably it's a good thing because it will force on regulations and good things will happen out of it.
What you're
But
saying
if
is
we
that
only fight disruptions and avoid the trends, we may be left behind and have less opportunities for our future and for our families. So the certificates, especially macroeconomic guys, they really know something. Daniel Priestley, Ray Dalio, Raoul Pal, Naval Ravikant. There's a ton of people you can get inspired in YouTube for free. They have different ways of seeing the world and will help you navigate these messy waters.
interestingly, I still think we are in a bubble. All those names, I guess, inside the product community, people might know a few, but outside, whenever I speak about them, I still feel very much in a bubble. So these are the high priests of the tech revolution, but they are not, they are still very much a niche towards the world out there for some reason. And
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, no, I mean, I've been running hundreds of interviews with kids out of college to internships or to get their first job. And whenever I approach them with drop some of these names or some of these practices, it's
Because the way
basically
is challenging them to look
zero.
at it. If you look at it,
The
all
Gen
professors,
Zers, like they're not like
even
boomers.
Zers and Gen Xers, they are having professors at school that were born when the internet did not exist. How can a professor, if the professor did not refresh his knowledge and adapted to it, how can a professor that is 60 years old, that was born before the internet, can explain to a kid, yes, we are teaching you now history of the world, but be aware also that you may make more money on YouTube than going for working on a factory. Because this is what they learned when they were in the school 40 years ago. There was no internet for them to play with. So
Yeah,
and now they need
YouTubers
to prepare. They
is
need to prepare kids for a world that don't exist today. So they need to be really critical thinkers. They need to be challenged on listening to other people, listening to podcasts
I mean,
like this.
most kids when they say, "Oh, Dad, I want to be a YouTuber," nobody takes them seriously. But
Of course
chances
not.
are they're going to be YouTubers, right?
They make
Chances
more money
are
than their
that's how
parents.
they're going
Yes.
to make money,
Yes.
whether you like it or not, whether
Yes.
it has a parent, right? Every time I try to explain what a product manager is, I also struggle a little
And
bit myself.
YouTube is the trend of today's world. In
Of
20 years
course,
from
of
now,
course,
it
be
will no
something
longer
else.
be there. And people that adapted to the YouTube trend did not work on the next wave. They'll be like, oh, but I'm running this show. I have spent a ton of gear. I'm doing this for 24/7 and I don't make any money
You
because
already
then
see that
everyone will be
with the
doing it.
TikTok, right? I mean, YouTubers are complaining that TikTokers are taking all their money because nobody's on YouTube anymore
Because
and
now
people
AI
don't want
generates
long
everything
format.
faster than them. So people
Exactly,
need to...
and AI is, half of the stuff out there it's already AI generated and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Look, man, that's obviously a super interesting topic that we could dive in for at least a couple of hours. But let's wrap it up for today's episode of the Productized Podcast. We usually try to make the promise to keep the episodes on the 45 1 hour range. There was a super nice conversation. And again, I always feel that I'm learning and I'm getting to know you better when I'm having this deeper conversation. And before we go, do you have any upcoming projects or initiatives that you like to share? And how can our listeners reach out to you? Because you're doing these consultations and I guess part of this is still for free. So what is the best way they can reach out to you and get to know these initiatives of yours?
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. I love the experience of being on this site. Hopefully soon I'll be on that chair again doing these podcasts. If people want to know more about me, probably in terms of work related things, product management, follow me on LinkedIn. If people want to, in Portuguese, follow more to my past I'm doing in personal finance, follow me on Instagram. It's Pedro Ganço. That's my handle. And probably soon I'll launch some kind of product like 7 financial coffees, like ways for people to learn my financial journey, what I did, a bunch of series, emails, and videos they can see. I share everything I know. And always feel free to contact me in message on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Amazing. So thanks so much for listening. And remember, change is something we can all do, all create together. See you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.